Perfect.
Professionals. Well, that's the lesson, folks. It's
called crap harmony, folks.
This is take 2 because there was a ghost in the machine, and the ghost, screwed us pretty hard right there. We had all kinds of good jokes about musicians milking each other, and I don't even know what the hell we were talking about, but it's all lost to the ages now. This is the great tragedy of art, folks. But
you never know what you're gonna get.
Anyway, we're gonna learn some cool shit on the guitar with Shine Delphi and his Delphonic Delphinator. Show me something cool.
All right. So before the ghost in the machine deleted everything,
Bastardly ghost.
I was talking about just a simple way I like to think about the guitar, which is to break it down to 3 strings at a time and go over your basic major and minor chords. So I like to start with D major, but I build D major in 3 different positions. Nah, you could probably do more, but who cares? 3's enough.
3's good. Don't get greedy, folks. Don't get greedy.
Let's be honest.
Take your 3 positions and go home.
3's more than enough, all right? You got
3
missionary.
3 is more positions than most Americans don't even know 3. I think.
Doggy style, you got the bending cow. Don't forget about the
we got back there anyway.
we
needn't have worried. We've rediscovered the place that we lost in the other 2. Right. Let's roll with that spirit.
All right, but anyway, here's our D major, super simple, D major. Let me move up. Here's our other D major. And our 3rd D major. And then once we go up further, we get back to the octave.
Don't be afraid to go up into the danger zone, folks.
The danger zone.
There's a reason there's frets up there on your guitar. You can use those things.
But so that's the easy one. So then the next thing I do is I take D minor. So obviously we can do lots of different picking exercises. We could do that's just D major. Then you have to do that with all the chords. G major. But you're going to realize that those 3 shapes come up every time. So if you figure out where your root, here's your root, D major. So that's root, 3rd, 5th, and then here's our root, 3rd, 5th, root, 3rd, 5th. If you know that, then you can start changing all the little pieces of it. So here's your root, then you know that if you wanted to make it a 9, you want to get a whole step up. Or if you want to do like a sus. Or if you want to do like a weird augmented chord. When you know where your root, 3rd, and 5th are, it's very easy to find all the extensions and stuff like that.
And this is really important for actually knowing the guitar and playing the guitar right, because there's a whole lot of players that everybody knows where they know their open G chord, their open C, their open D, their A minor, whatever, your basic open chord shapes. And then if it goes outside of that, they just slap a capo on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, what chord am I playing now? What note am I playing? So knowing your shapes and your scale tones and where they are all the way up and down the neck on all the sets of strings, just getting used to that is going to be a huge...
it'll
open
make
up
you...
so many different avenues.
Yeah, it'll really make you a better musician. And like I said when I was talking in the beginning, it's just working it in 3 strings at a time. So if you do those, the G, the B, the E string, then you move down to the D, the G, and the B, and you can find... Whoops. So then, and then to make that minor, obviously... But then you go go down to your A, D, G. Then you go down to your E, A, D. Where is that next one?
Target panic, man. The lenses do it. The lens does it.
Oh yeah, here we go.
I forget my. You point a camera at me and I forget my name. It's real. It's a real thing.
So that one's a little, but just thinking about that and sort of like I said, if you go through the majors and then you go through the minors, try some picking patterns, things like that. To me, it's important to see a chord in its fullness. So if you play a chord like a bar chord, to me, it's good to see it as it's broken down in little pieces because you've got this little piece right here. You've got this little piece right here. You've got this little piece. So that way, if someone's just playing this little part, you can be like, oh, I know what that is. That's G. If someone's just playing this little part, you can say, oh, it's B minor. But if you can take a little bit of information and figure out what the whole piece actually should be, then as an accompanist, like as someone trying to play over someone else's tune, you can add a lot of cool colors to it. Or
without stamping all over it.
Yeah.
Because you don't necessarily need to be accompanying somebody with full bar chords all the
exactly,
time. You might just be doing this,
Yeah. Even when I'm playing rhythm for somebody, if there's a bass player, like I'm not usually playing this low E string, and if there's, if someone's taking a solo, then I'm definitely not playing these high strings because they're probably, doing all this high. So what I try to focus on is the mid. So like if the whole chord progression was like, that's how a lot of people would play that, but then I would play it like.
Right. Subtlety.
Yeah,
How
exactly.
shocking.
So then you're just getting that mid range, which is where your guitar should be. Like in a band, you got to look at it as like the EQ, and if you've got drums and bass, you want to make room for the drums and bass, and if you got someone taking a solo or someone singing, you want to make room for them singing.
Yeah.
And
you don't want to be mucking up the whole frequency spectrum with the guitar, stepping on everything. And we all, we've all been on stage with those people. But let's talk too a little bit before the imps in my phone dicked us before.
Is it back off again?
No, it's not. The green light's good. The blue light's bad.
Okay,
if the light turns blue, then we're screwed.
Green light special, folks.
But we'll get really good at this if we have to keep doing it. It'll be probably a little less dumb every time. But let's talk about the arpeggio approach to soloing that we were talking about a little bit before. Soloing is something that I've been trying to kind of build up my comfort with. And when we talk about the arpeggio-based method, it's kind of as opposed to maybe a more scale-based. A lot of people just kind of like wang away on their pentatonic scales. If there's that little A to D progression we were doing before, if people do the, you can noodle away on that. There's nothing wrong with pentatonic scale. Obviously, they have their place, but when you get these chord tones and arpeggios, and you kind of get a really melodic sound, and also you're supporting the harmony there there with the chords, so I mean you're much better suited to demonstrate this than I am. So
I feel like one of the biggest questions that people ask me when I do a guitar lesson is how I can take a solo by myself.
For sure.
Because that's because if you just play pentatonic scale, if you're playing all these chords and then all of a sudden you just go, you're not hearing those chords anymore.
Right, the chord progression drops away.
Yeah, so that song goes to a different place. But if I were to be like, you heard those chords as they went through because I made sure of it.
Yeah, for sure.
So arpeggios are really great. And starting with something as simple as limiting yourself to just 3 strings of an arpeggio to start with, so you can get the comfort of, because it's so much easier to me to just be like, than it is to be like.
Yeah, I've been since the last time that you were down here and mentioned that kind of approach where you're practicing on the 3 strings. I've been limiting it that way sometimes when I practice, and I think it's really beneficial because, I was doing those exercises where I was kind of going the whole way, doing the full arpeggios, which is good too. It's useful, but
Yeah.
You kind of really getting to know those arpeggios in sections and in every location where they occur
For
is
sure.
really useful too.
And I think also manipulating the rhythm with the arpeggios. So like if you're limiting yourself to 3 strings, you're limiting your note choices. And then so in order to be creative, you have to be more rhythmically spicy with it,
True.
So like, but yeah, like if you play that like A to D progression, yep. But anyway, yeah. So just kind of bullshitting around. Obviously, too, like I was doing a lot of the chromatic approaches to notes. So instead of just playing, I'm doing something like, or instead of doing just the D, I'm doing. And all it is really you want to end, if you're going to end on the downbeat, you want the note on the downbeat to be a note within the chord, and then you can kind of get away with anything as long as you land on a note that's in that chord. So if I were just to play this D, I could do all this weird.
As long as you land with your foot on bass, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like Buzz Lightyear said, it's
So
like
if you're
falling with style.
if you're newer to this kind of jargon and you're wondering about chromaticism, we're talking about the notes that are outside the scale, just using those are your out of the box notes, and as long as you kind of land back on one of those chord tones, go outside the box.
Exactly.
Take it out and wave it around and put it back in the box at the end.
Fling your box wherever you like it.
Fling that box.
Just bring it home when you're done.
Bring it home, folks. That's what it comes down to.
But yeah, so I mean, simple stuff like that is it's definitely, it'll help make solos better. Playing the arpeggios will definitely help make your solos feel like they make more sense. I think it's important to know the whole pentatonic approach with the arpeggio approach, and then on top of that, if you can learn the melody, if you can put those 3 things together, you're probably gonna play really nice solos. And even if you don't have the greatest ear, if you don't have the greatest understanding of all the theory of music and stuff like that, like the arpeggio is just so simple.
Yeah.
If you just follow that, like, you don't really need to know why other than just that's what it is. It's a D major chord, so it's D, F sharp, A, and those are the notes in a D major chord. And if you're playing those notes, it's going to sound nice. And if you're implementing the, like a little pentatonic in there, or even just playing the melody while you're in there too, it's going to sound, again, like, it's gonna sound more purposeful, even if you don't understand why you're doing it.
It's an important point about the melody too, and not to lose that, because some people, some guitar players, and I mean musicians in general, and guitar players specifically, get so caught up in being kind of fancy and gymnastic about what they're doing that they completely lose any relationship to the melody. And a lot of times people are going to tune out right then.
Yeah.
You're going to lose the listener, because that's, when somebody remembers a song, what is it that they remember? It's usually the melody that
it's the melody.
It's the part that you sing. It's the part that gives the song that its form, that kind of defines what it is. So don't lose the relationship to the melody when you're soloing. However fast your hands might be, it might not be relevant in any way what you're doing. What was it that Frank Zappa said about some guitar solo? He said it's become like an Olympic exercise in speed and redundancy.
Well, that's,
speed and redundancy.
I'm all about, I'm all about everyone learning how to use their muscles for sure. But
Sure,
you could, I feel like you could go to the gym and lift really heavy weights one time. But, if you do I don't know, that was a bad analogy.
It's in there somewhere, right?
Oh, it's in there.
It's in there somewhere. The question is, where is there?
The question is, where'd the milk come from?
No, develop your muscles, but be able to use them for something relevant.
Yeah, exactly. So, you could run on a treadmill all day, but, if you want to run a marathon, it might be a little something different. You might want to pace yourself.
Yeah, you want to get used to encountering squirrels and other woodland creatures and stuff, so you don't freak out. Like,
being able to dodge
what's that thing? I didn't see that shit on the treadmill. What is that?
I was just watching
big,
TV on the
teeth.
treadmill. But
this isn't Oprah.
But yeah, arpeggios definitely are such a great way to make solos sound better. But yeah, I don't know. I hope that helps you.
All right, let's wrap it before it gets even weirder. Thanks, man.
Yeah, for sure.